This is Andi Purewal, Boxing Social in association with Betfred. I'm joined by promoter Eddie Hearn. Eddie, you're probably fed up of seeing me now, the amount of times that you see me at the minute, but it's good to catch up as always. Saw you on Good Morning Britain this morning. Yeah, just talk to me about that lively debate.
Well, I was like, when I got invited onto Good Morning Britain, I thought, we're talking Buatsi Richards, and we did a little bit, but it was more about the debate about, boxing, good or bad. And I think the gentleman I turned up, and he had a box, right, of files. And I turned up, I went, hello, nice to meet you. He went, I've come well prepared. I thought, blimey, what's going to happen here? And we are all aware of the dangers of boxing. We respect that, and it's something that we understand, and we're always trying to evolve and improve that as well. But you can't. I'm such a huge advocate about the role that boxing plays in the community. I've said it a million times. But people, this gentleman included, don't see it. They don't go into local clubs and see what boxing does in these young people's lives, male, female. I have 2 daughters. I take them to the local amateur boxing club. It's the best thing I've ever done. To see them listen, learn about respect, manners, discipline. See them exercise, get off their phones, and it's 2 different sports. He's talking about the dangers of professional boxing. Really, I'm talking about participation for grassroots as well. So, boxing's always hard to defend because it is dangerous. But go and speak to AJ, speak to Craig and Buatsi about how boxing changed their life. But you only see it, Andy, when you're involved with it. And that's the problem at government level, MPs and politicians. And it's not even, I'll say it's not their fault, but until you go and see it, you don't know. And the other presenter said, but what about other sports? Badminton and things like that. How are you going to motivate a young kid from a council estate or that's in a gang to come down and try this, come and have a game of badminton? It's not, So we got to use the power of boxing, and when you talk about getting people through the doors, not just to become a world champion, it's just to change their mindset, just to motivate them, just to build that regimental lifestyle. That the benefits of boxing for someone like Anthony Joshua and those kind of people are actually beyond just winning a world title and making money. They changed him as a person, and they made him be more focused and on what he wants to achieve.
Eddie, how do you actually go about then trying to get the government or MPs to understand how beneficial boxing can be, especially for the younger generations coming through?
For the first time, and the reason that I did the show this morning and debated about it is because I want to do more in that respect. And I feel like boxing's been good to me in many ways, and it's important that we put something back into boxing. And thankfully, people like Dominic Raab, who was part of the show, is a believer, right? Now, there's being a believer, and there's making a difference, and there's doing something about it, and there's actually investing within the communities. I've spoken to him this morning, and we're going to meet up and look at ways in which we can do it, because it's going to take someone like him, and it's going to take someone like me to be able to actually make a change. And even from maybe an ego perspective, I'd like my legacy to have some of that on it, rather than just, he was a good promoter, he'd done some big shows. Imagine being able to actually say you made a difference in communities. That appeals to me. And if I can help, then whatever time I've got, I will willingly help the government, because I'm a really big believer in it and very passionate about it.
So it would be great to see more done to help the younger generation coming through and to get them involved in boxing and understand how beneficial it can be. And as you mentioned, 2 guys who have had to come up through hard ways, very different paths. So actually, Josh Buatsi and Craig Richards, who headline on Saturday night. Eddie, I haven't asked you this week, but I asked Josh what does he make of the critics who feel that he's not moved at a quick enough pace during his career? What are your thoughts on that?
I think he should have been a bit more active. I think early on in his career, the thing is with Josh, he's a bit of a perfectionist. So coming off the back of a fight, he would always take a break, go on holiday, and then he would want to do his 8-week camp. And I'm talking about when he started getting up to 10 rounders. And I feel like there was a couple of times where we would say to him, there's a fight in 4 or 5 weeks, I think you should jump on that. No, I want to get my holiday and my rest. So, and obviously from the Vlasov fight in December, they had to pull out with the injury. So he's lost a little bit of momentum, but I think that he's been guided in the right way. I think the matchmaking has been pretty much spot on, particularly if you talk about Bolotniks, and now Richards. But now it's down to see if he's got the ability to go and win a world title. If he doesn't beat Craig Richards, he's not going to go and beat Beterbiev Bivol and those kind of people as well. So this is a good marker to see where Buatsi's at. And I think Craig Richards, on the same hand, has evolved as a fighter, has grown that confidence, and comes and gives him a great challenge.
What type of fight are you expecting to see tomorrow night between the pair of them, Eddie?
I think people talk about it being a chess match earlier. I disagree. I actually think, I think Craig Richards will be sharp with a jab, and he might be just a little bit tentative early on. I think Buatsi will be aggressive. I think, and I don't believe Joshua Buatsi when he says he hasn't thought about or been affected by Craig Richards' statements in the head-to-head and stuff like that. I think Joshua Buatsi wants to do a job on him, in all honesty, and I think he'll start fast. I think he'll be looking to cut down the distance, get inside, work the body, and trade up with Craig Richards. But I tell you, Craig Richards looks like he can really punch. Watching him at the workout the other day, I don't think you want to be trading up. Either guy wants to be trading up in this fight because it will be very explosive. I don't think the fight will go to distance.
Hey, just talk me through the undercard. I haven't asked you about it this week. Start off with Babic and Balski.
Yeah, it's a really good fight. I was just talking to the Polish media there. Balski's very well respected. I mean, I don't say it too loudly because he's over there, but I guess the jury's a little bit out on Alen Babic, off the back of his last performance, and he has been fighting huge heavyweights, so he's been a massive disadvantage. Now he's fighting a guy of the same size, although Balski looks quite big as well. So I think this is going to be really interesting to see what Alen Babic has at Bridgerweight. In my opinion, and it's no disrespect, I don't believe Alen Babic is going to win world titles at heavyweight. He can win a world title at Bridgerweight, but he's got to beat Oscar Rivas, which is a very dangerous fight, who is really a heavyweight anyway. So we'll see. It's a very, very tough fight. Chantel Cameron's in a good fight. Of course, she's supposed to be fighting Callie Reese, who's not medically fit, but Bustos fought all the undisputed champions. Very, very tough. Ellie Scotney's got a really tough fight against Roman, who obviously had a good fight with Bridges. She was a world champion for a long, long time. Fight of the night, right? Robbie Davis Jr. against Javier Molina. Watch this fight. Molina is very good, very dangerous. Robbie Davis has come on a lot, but it's a very, very dangerous fight for both these guys. And that's actually going to kick off the action of the main broadcast. And then, of course, we got Chev Clark coming back for his second fight. John Hedges, Cyrus Patterson, Shiloh De Freitas, and big night.
Just on Ellie Scott and Cecilia Roman, if Ellie comes through that one unscathed, realistically, is it looking at world titles then?
It has to be a world title. I think... hold on.
Just for people to know, Eddie was doing this in an interview yesterday and was pulled up on it.
Yeah. I think that it has to be a world title next for Ellie Scotland, and it's going to be interesting, this fight, to see if she's ready.
Looking at that world scene at 140, you mentioned Robbie Davis Jr., how he wants to push on now. What have you made of Josh Taylor vacating the WBA title? And he looks like he's going to face Zapida next, his WBC man.
Yeah, I think that it's very difficult when you're undisputed champion to hold all the belts and keep them all with all the mandatories. So naturally, after that, you end up, having to vacate some belts. And the Zapida fight is a good fight.
Surprised he didn't revisit the Jack Catterall rematch?
Yeah, I think maybe in time, but he's got to take. If he doesn't take care of one of the mandatories he loses, he's going to lose all the belts, and that seems to be a mandatory that's ensuing.
Leharaga Metcalf out in Bilbao tonight, Eddie. Obviously, another very good fight. I expect a lot of violence in it as well.
It's going to be a great fight. You need to tune into that fight. I think it's a 50-50. Leharaga went down a couple of times against Jez Smith, etc. And it's going to be really interesting to see that fight. It's going to be a great atmosphere. I'm flying straight out from here, and then back for the O2 card. Tune in tonight.
So you mentioned to TalkSport, Billy Joe Saunders potentially coming back, and John Ryder a potential opponent. Can you just fill me in a bit on that? What conversations?
I think, I think that it's a really good fight for both. John Ryder's queuing up for a big fight, but at the same time, we need to get Billy Joe Saunders back in a good fight. I think it's a great fight for London. It's a very competitive fight. So we'll see. We'll see if both guys want that fight and if it can get made.
The junior fight's always been spoken about with Billy Joe. Did he mention that to you at all?
I think that's a big fight. We'd look at that for sure, but I think the September-October fight, more realistically, will be someone else. Maybe that fight can happen in early 2023.
Just on the matchroom front, Eddie, I was curious, what's the situation with Demetrius Andrade? I know the Parker fight isn't happening. Contractually, does he have another fight left for you guys now?
We agreed to part company after the once that fight was made, so it'd be unlikely that we'll be working with Demetrius anymore, whether that's in a Parker fight or somebody else, but I expect him to get a big fight somewhere.
What do you make of Oscar De La Hoya's comments about Canelo's promoters not knowing what they're doing by putting him there with Demetrius?
Obviously, we don't make decisions about who Canelo fights, but everybody thought that Canelo Alvarez would beat Dimitri Bivol until he lost. you know. But I don't like to comment too much on the Oscar stuff. I just hope he can get better soon.
Eddie, appreciate your time. Wait, sell it. There you go.
I ain't got to sell it. Tonight, what a weekend. Friday night in Bilbao, Metcalfe against Leharaja, incredible fight. And tomorrow, South London derby, Battle of Britain on a world scene. Joshua Buatsi against Craig Richards, massive undercard from the O2, all live on DAZN. Don't miss it.